As the sun began to rise over the small village where Hanzo lived, the soft light illuminated the lush greenery and vibrant colors that surrounded him. Hanzo lived in a modest wooden house on the outskirts of the village, nestled amidst a grove of tall trees. His home was simple but well maintained, with wooden shingles that lined the roof and a small porch where he would often sit and contemplate the world around him. Beyond the village, the landscape was dotted with fields of rice paddies and small clusters of houses. The fields were lush and green, and the air was often thick with the scent of wet earth and fresh vegetation. In the distance, Hanzo could see the towering peaks of the mountains, their jagged peaks reaching up to the sky. Despite the beauty that surrounded him, Hanzo knew the danger lurked in every corner. As a skilled ninja, he was trained to be constantly aware of his surroundings and to be prepared for any situation that might arise. It was this awareness that had led him to accept the dangerous mission of stealing the sacred scroll from the dragon's lair. The scroll that Hanzo was tasked with stealing was a revered artifact that had been passed down through generations of emperors. It held the secrets of the universe, the knowledge of the ancient sages, and the teaching of the wisest man who had ever lived. It was said that whoever possessed the scroll would have access to unparalleled wisdom and power. Hanzo knew that the scroll was a powerful tool, and that its knowledge could be used for both good and evil. He was determined to complete his mission and bring back the scroll to the Emperor, but he was also aware of the risks involved. The dragon that guarded the scroll was known to be a fearsome creature with razor-sharp claws and a breath of fire that could incinerate anything in its path. As Hanzo made his way through the mountain pass, he was struck by the beauty of his surroundings. The mountains towered above him, their rocky faces weathered and worn by centuries of wind and rain. The air was crisp and clean, and the sun shone down on the landscape, casting long shadows that stretched out before him. As he climbed higher up the mountain, Hanzo's heart began to race. He knew that the dragon was close, and that the danger was imminent. His senses were on high alert, and every muscle in his body was tensed and ready to fight. Finally, he arrived at the entrance to the dragon's lair. The cave was dark and foreboding, with jagged rocks jutting out from the walls and a foul smell that wafted out from within. Hanzo took a deep breath and stepped inside, his hand tightly gripping the hilt of his sword. The inside of the cave was even more terrifying than Hanzo had anticipated. The walls were covered in shimmering crystals that glinted in the dim light, casting eerie shadows across the floor. The air was thick with the smell of sulfur, and Hanzo could hear the faint sound of the dragon's breathing echoing through the cavern. As he crept deeper and deeper into the cave, Hanzo could feel the dragon's presence growing stronger. His heart was pounding in his chest, and his palms were slick with sweat, but he was determined to complete his mission and retrieve the sacred scroll. Finally, he reached the chamber where the dragon was sleeping. The creature was massive, with gleaming scales that shone like diamonds in the dim light. Its eyes were closed, but Hanzo could see its chest rising and falling with each deep breath. With great care, Hanzo crept forward and began to reach for the scroll. Just as his fingers brushed against the parchment, the dragon's eyes snapped open. Its massive head turned towards Hanzo, and a deep rumble emanated from its throat. Hanzo froze, his heart racing as he prepared for a fight. The dragon rose to its feet, towering over Hanzo like a mountain. Its eyes gleamed with a fierce intelligence, and Hanzo could feel the heat of its breath washing over him. He braced himself, ready to fight for his life. But the dragon surprised him. Instead of attacking, it spoke to him, its voice deep and resonant. "Why have you come to my lair, ninja?" it asked. Hanzo took a deep breath in, his mind racing as he considered his response. He knew that he could not lie to the dragon, but he also knew that he could not reveal the true nature of his mission. "I have come seeking knowledge," he said, his voice steady. "I have heard that there are ancient scrolls here that contain secrets beyond measure. I seek only to learn." The dragon regarded him for a moment, its eyes piercing through Hanzo's defenses. But then, to Hanzo's surprise, it nodded its massive head. "Very well," it said. "I will allow you to take one of the scrolls, but you must choose wisely, for they contain knowledge that can be both powerful and dangerous." Hanzo nodded, his heart racing as he scanned the shelves of scrolls. He knew that he had to choose carefully, for the fate of his mission rested on the knowledge that he would gain from this scroll. Finally, he saw a scroll that caught his eye. It was ancient and weathered, with delicate calligraphy that danced across the surface. Hanzo could feel the power emanating from it, and he knew that this was the scroll that he had been sent to retrieve. With trembling hands, he reached out and took the scroll from its place on the shelf. The dragon watched him intently, its eyes never leaving him as he carefully wrapped the parchment and placed it in his pack. As he turned to leave, the dragon spoke once more. "Remember, ninja, knowledge is power, but it can also be dangerous. Use it wisely or suffer the consequences." With those words ringing in his ears, Hanzo made his way out of the dragon's lair and began the long journey back to the Emperor's palace. Days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months as Hanzo traveled across the land. He faced many dangers and challenges, but he was determined to complete his mission and bring the scroll back to the Emperor. Finally, he arrived at the palace gates, his heart racing with anticipation. The guards welcomed him with open arms, and he was led to the throne room where the Emperor was waiting. With great reverence, Hanzo presented the scroll to the Emperor. The room fell silent as the Emperor unrolled the parchment and began to read the ancient calligraphy. As he read, his eyes widened in amazement. Hanzo could see the wisdom and power contained within the scroll radiating from the Emperor's eyes. And then, as the Emperor finished reading, he turned to Hanzo with a smile. "You have done well, Hanzo," he said. "You have brought us the knowledge that we need to lead our people into a bright and prosperous future." Hanzo bowed deeply, his heart filled with pride and satisfaction. He knew that he had completed his mission, and that he had done so with honor and bravery. And from that day forward, Hanzo was known as a hero throughout the land. His name was spoken with reverence and respect, as he was often called upon to undertake other dangerous missions on behalf of the Emperor. However, Hanzo never forgot the dragon's warning about the dangers of knowledge. He knew that the power contained within the scroll could be used for good or for evil, depending on how it was wielded. And so, he devoted himself to studying the scrolls and unlocking its secrets and learning its lessons. He shared his knowledge with the people of the land, using it to help them live better and more fulfilling lives. But he also remained vigilant, always aware of the potential for misuse of the knowledge contained within the scroll. He knew that with great power came great responsibilities, and he took that responsibility very seriously. Years passed, and Hanzo grew old. He watched as the world changed around him, as new generations rose up to take his place, but he never lost sight of the lessons he had learned on his journey, and he continued to share his wisdom with all who would listen. The moral of the story is that knowledge is a powerful tool, but it must be wielded with great care and responsibility. The pursuit of knowledge is a noble endeavor, but it is important to remember that with great power also comes great responsibility. We must always strive to use our knowledge for good and to help those around us live better and more fulfilling lives. And we must always remain vigilant, aware of the potential for misuse and abuse of the knowledge that we possess. Only in this way can we truly make the world a better place for all. And there you have it, folks, another bedtime adventure brought to you by Stories to the Nation. Don't forget to like the video and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you can join us on our next journey into the world of imagination. Good night and sweet dreams.